Best run franchises, Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins have a rich history and are one of the best run franchises in the NHL. The Bruins have won 6 Stanley Cups and are the oldest NHL team in the US. The Boston Bruins won 3 Stanley Cups before the original 6 era. The first in 1929, the second in 1939, and the third in 1941. During the original 6 era, the Bruins didn't win any championships, but they did leave their mark in history. On January 18, 1958, Willie O'Ree became the first black hockey player to ever play in the NHL when he stepped on the ice for the Boston Bruins. In 1966, the Bruins' fortunes turned around when the Bruins signed Bobby Orr, a defenseman who is regarded by many as the greatest hockey player of all time. In 1967, the Bruins acquired Phil Esposito, Ken Hodge, and Frank Stanfield from the Chicago Blackhawks in a deal celebrated as one of the most lopsided deals in NHL history. Esposito went on to become one of the league's top goal scorers, while Hodge and Stanfield became key elements to the Bruins' success. The Bruins would be known as the Big Bad Bruins from the late 60s through the 80s, as they were one of the top teams in the league at that time. During that time frame, Bobby Orr won 8 straight Norris trophies and would lead the Bruins to the 1970 and 1972 Stanley Cups. Don Cherry became the coach of the Boston Bruins in the 1974-75 season and would remain coach until 1979. In the 1979 draft, the Bruins drafted Ray Bourque, one of the greatest defensemen of all time, and the face of the Bruins for the next 2 decades. The Bruins made the playoffs every year through the 80s, behind stars such as Ray Bourque, Brad Park, and Rick Middleton. Behind Ray Bourque and Cam Neely, the Bruins made the Stanley Cup Finals in 1988, while they lost to the Edmonton Oilers in 4 games. The Bruins made it back to the Stanley Cup Finals in 1990, but they lost again to the Edmonton Oilers, this time in 5 games. From 91 to 96, the Bruins would make the playoffs, but get eliminated in the first 2 rounds. In 1997, the Bruins missed the playoffs for the first time in 30 years. The Bruins had the first pick in the 1997 draft and selected Joe Thornton. They also had the 8th pick in the 97 draft and selected Sergei Samsonov. During the 99-2000 season, Ray Bourque was traded to the Colorado Avalanche so he could win the Stanley Cup. Fast forward to 2005. Joe Thornton was traded to the San Jose Sharks for Marco Sturm, Brad Stewart, and Wayne Primo in one of the worst trades of all time. Before the 05-06 season, Peter Chiarelli was hired to be the new GM. Dave Lewis was hired to replace Mike Sullivan as the new head coach. Also before the 05-06 season, the Bruins signed Zdeno Chara and Mark Savard in free agency. After a disappointing 2007 season, the Bruins fired Dave Lewis and hired Claude Julien to be their new head coach. In the summer of 2009, the Boston Bruins traded Phil Kessel to the Toronto Maple Leafs for first-round picks in 2010 and 2011. Those picks turned into Tyler Seguin and Dougie Hamilton. The Bruins won the 2011 Stanley Cups in 7 games over the Vancouver Canucks. The Bruins made early playoff exits from 2012 to 2014. After missing the playoffs in the 2014-2015 season, the Bruins fired Peter Chiarelli and replaced him with Don Sweeney. In the second to last month of the 2016-2017 season, the Bruins fired Claude Julien and promoted Bruce Cassidy. Bruce Cassidy returned as head coach for the 2017-2018 season, leading the Bruins to the playoffs for a second year in a row. The Bruins had a record of 50-20-12, including an 18-game point streak, which lasted from December 14, 2017 to January 25, 2018. The Bruins would once again lose in the second round of the playoffs, this time to the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Boston Bruins are full of history and are a highly successful franchise. This is why the Boston Bruins are one of the best run franchises of all time. Next on Worst Run Franchises, I'll be talking about the Florida Panthers.